right, ladies, welcome to the Sisterhood. Thank you so much for coming and joining with us. Just a reminder, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And also comment if you have any topics that you'd love to talk about. I am Michelle, your host here, and my co-host.
And I'm Rochelle, your co host for this afternoon.
Yes, and today we're going to talk about an article that I saw on Fortune.com. Actually, like to peruse LinkedIn. They have some really good articles that they link
Oh,
in.
cool.
And this article is called Women of Color Can No Longer Buy into the Inclusion Delusion. And I'm going to link the article in the comments. This article is by Deepa Purushothoma, and I apologize if I did not say your name right, but I appreciate everything that you wrote in here. And again, I read this on Fortune. Rochelle and I have both read it, and we are going to just go over the commentary. And pretty much, hey, the whole article was the fact that we are trying to buy people into inclusion at the office place, but really, is it is it a delusion that we are buying into, and that we can't continue buying into this inclusion delusion because we've been suffering for so long, and we still can't celebrate that we've made it in certain areas because we're not getting the support that we need. So
So,
what did you think about this article, Ro?
right. So, just to give a quick synopsis or caption, it's surrounding our first Black Supreme Court Justice Brown, who was
Mm-hmm.
nominated and officially approved to be the first Black woman to sit on the Supreme Court. And it was through her hearings the this article spun because it was in reflection of how she was treated, right? And if you watched, I know some watched, some didn't. I caught what I could, and so it's just kind of infuriating the drill of the questions and what she was, subject to. By honestly, it felt like all black, all white men, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who went over and above and went all outside of their even their ranking to try to, in a sense, it was like humiliation, tried to undermine her by some of the questions. And then some things were like repeatedly drilled over and over again. I'm like, she answered the question like 12 times ago. She answered the question 3 years, two days ago. I think she was pretty concise and clear. So, um, that's the case. So that spun into the article about, the delusion about being inclusive, because they would say, like, in corporate, there would be individuals, women of color, who are in high ranking positions. They're kind of visible, but they have no authority, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they never feel like they're being included, respected, or have the power to even do their jobs from that piece of it. And so that's how the spin on the actual article kind of spun out from that piece of it. So, did you by chance watch the hearings at all, Michelle?
Oh, I am one of those that did not watch the hearing. I get really, really angry, and I knew I was setting. I knew I was setting myself up. I knew I was setting myself up. If I was to watch it, I know I was going to get all types of thoughts and feelings, which again I'm still trying to process on my own. And even though the news was saying, oh, they were going to try to, this should be quick, they're not going to ask any like crazy questions. I knew they were. I was getting the synopsis. I was getting the overview.
You was getting an overview. You didn't want to sit and watch.
I was like, I can't. I'm like, yeah, I want to watch a historical event. I'm gonna watch her
Absolutely,
when it happens,
it's
but it's like
confirmed.
when it's confirmed. But I cannot sit here and watch. I'm gonna have to be careful with what I say.
Absolutely, it's funny. I watched, like I said, what I could. during the day. But yeah, it was infuriating because it was like they were nitpicking or trying to find issues with her rulings. And I'm like, it's no different than any other judge. You're limited in the box, right? You get, hey, this is if they're convicted, if they're found guilty, then this is the box. I can, 1 to 3 years. That could be, their sentencing. I'm working within my parameters. And then it was like, oh, well, insinuating that she was, not tough on child molesters and children who were victims of these people. And she's like, I did what was in the letter of the law and what was in my capacity. And if you lay out everything that I've done and all the hearings that I presided over and what I've recommended or sentenced people for, they're very similar. So they would pick one, or maybe it was only, I think it was 2 cases that they were of her. I can't, how many, it was a multitude of cases that she presided over. They picked 2 cases or maybe 1 case that they said the sentence was very lenient. They could understand that, and it was like picking her apart. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
quite interesting because, I mean, I think sometimes we follow, at least I have, fallen in this sense of security of like, oh, 2020 happened, people are awoke, people understand, we're all on the same footing. And that's not the case, right? I mean,
Nope.
even still, after seeing everything, it's still not the case. And you're like, I'm still battling. Like, I still have to put my armor and my shield on and, get
Mm-hmm.
in. And I think as women, we can, that's one scenario, right? And then you're a woman of color. I've definitely been in meetings where, um, visibly I've been demeaned. I remember once giving a presentation to a client, we're in a room, and it's probably like 20 people in the room, and I had 2 people who are off to the side. We're at a table, conference table, and it's a round table. They were like chit chatting, talking. Now
Hmm.
I'm giving a presentation for your,
Your benefit.
for your benefit, actually. And it was just like I'm looking, in the corner of your eye, you see it's like being a teacher and you see the
Mm-hmm.
kids goofing off, and you're like, hey, 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 right? But I'm in front of clients. I didn't want to be like, hey, are you guys paying attention, or is this something of value that, or is this not of value for you guys, right? So I definitely felt that. And it could have been just, hey, that day they were, not, it's a presentation from a carrier coming into us. And, it's not that, and they could have done it to anyone. But as a woman and as the only woman in the room and the
Mm-hmm.
woman of color in the room, I felt that. So I could definitely empathize with Justice Brown from that piece of it.
Well, it just goes to show you that even though we strive to be the best that we can, and that we do so many great things, they still are going to nitpick at the one time you might have made a mistake.
And it wasn't right.
It
In their
wasn't
part,
well
it wasn't a mistake.
in Justice
Exactly.
Brown's case. It wasn't a mistake, but just equating it to anything else that we do. One time,
One
one time you
time.
might have
One
made a
time.
mistake. Like
Right.
you could be in space. Like you could be an astronaut. You could be curing diseases and cancer. Oh yeah, you know that one time they didn't pick up their child on time.
Right. Exactly,
Or
right? I mean, that is the truth, right? Of what
mhm,
people remember of you. And I always said this, and then in the article it talks about like women choosing to, they have one piece in there, like a woman chose to stay 3 years longer in a job
right.
that she was ready to leave because one, she didn't want to set, an example or precedent. Oh, for black women, like, so she stayed silent, and you think
Mhm.
about, oh, she's grateful for the opportunity, doesn't want to feel ungrateful. You don't want to leave because then you want to think, oh, if we hire another black person, it's going to happen, this is what happens when we hire them, right?
Right.
But it happens all the time when, you know our counterparts get opportunity, it may not be a good fit, they leave, and it's not that big of a deal. Like, it didn't work out, it wasn't a good fit. But if we do it, we, at least I know I've carried the burden of, and positions, to always do my best, go over and above, right? Not just for myself, but because whoever comes behind me who potentially may look like me, I want to make sure that they're not going to be judged for what I created, right? And if
Right.
it is, it's going to be because it was great things, right? So I definitely understand that piece of it. on that, the power structure and the how the dynamic of power is, that you're not, although they say you have a position of power, not really given that power, right? And then I
Mhm.
think sometimes women even find like, hey, I have the power, but when I exercise it, then I'm tapped on my hand for doing so, right?
Right.
And looking at that, and we'll definitely invite some senior leaders who have been in positions where they have some power and can maybe can talk about it. I think for us, we're limited on our vantage point, right?
Right.
Of viewing certain things, but absolutely, definitely have seen that where you have power, you invoke your power, and then you're slighted for doing so.
Well, you were telling me a story about when you weren't even you weren't you weren't exercising your power. You were just exercising being a good leader and letting people know about other opportunities out there, and you were
I would
immediately
immediately,
villainized as
yes,
poaching somebody else.
talent,
Yeah, as
exactamundo,
poaching talent. But all you were doing was being a good leader and letting people know that there are opportunities out there. And so,
correct.
but didn't your counterpart do the exact same thing? And
The exactly the exact same thing. And they told me that it was basically a kind of unwritten rule. And I said, an unwritten rule. Where is the unwritten rule book then? How am I supposed to follow a guideline of an unwritten rule? And yeah,
mhm,
they called me to chastise me. It wasn't a call of, hey, I'm trying to, put you in on like kind of how the shop runs around here and kind of how we do things. It was a call to, admonish me to, chastise me for, in a sense, poaching talent. I'm like, it's internal. I'm just telling people about the opportunity. Oh, on our last regional call, the SVP gave me the floor to talk about my opportunity in my group. What's the difference? I have a rapport with this person. I just so happen to say I have an opportunity. If you're interested, definitely talk to your leader. And if you're interested, apply. If not, then it's totally fine. It wasn't
mhm.
one way or another. It wasn't like I walked over with the application in my hand, had it printed out for, filled it out, signed your name, went and took it in and put. Yeah, so it was just, I will never forget that. I will never forget that phone call.
I
I will
I
never
I
forget
couldn't
that phone call.
I can't forget our conversation about it, and I wasn't even a part of that phone call. I was like, "Geez, you got to be kidding
Right.
me." Like,
And
y
like, mhm,
yeah, we're just trying to help, and then you get admonished.
exactly. Exactly. And then that's the thing too. I said that to my boss, and my boss is very supportive, from that piece of it, and just said like, hey, sometimes people operate in a certain manner. What you did wasn't anything wrong, because I even reached out to HR, honey. I was like,
Mm,
okay, so we got unwritten rules around here, let me reach out to HR. She was like, absolutely, you could do that. She was like, now I can't do it being in HR, but you can absolutely, tell people about the opportunity. That's what you're supposed to do. You're internally recruiting. So it was very interesting. I was like, I was just wanting to make sure, cover my ducks up, right, to ensure.
mhm.
So immediately after I got off the call with him, I called HR to confirm, and then I called my manager to have that discussion, because I was livid. Like, I probably lost a piece of professionalism. I maintained my professionalism, but my voice was very high, highly elevated. Because even my
Mhm.
husband, and we were working remotely, he was looking at me like, "Who are you talking to?" Um, and it was that, and I felt so defeated. Right,
Uh-huh.
here I am, a leader, a people leader. I'm trying to, elevate my team. I'm trying to get the word out. If I can bring on good talent and more people, grand. But then that's in the same vein, he did the exact same thing that I did to someone on my team.
Yeah.
And it was my team members'
And
decision to decide if they wanted the opportunity or not. It wasn't my decision. I'm giving you knowledge and information.
yeah, and you know what? If you had said something to him, it would have ended for you.
No, he came back because he realized his error and made
Oh.
it a joke. Like, oh, I know I had just told you about this. Oh, I actually did the same thing, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, everyone doesn't need to be a leader. Everyone. Maybe you need to manage a process and not manage people, because I think it's a certain skill set and you have to understand that you're not bigger than the team, right? That the team
Mhm.
is bigger than you, and you're really there to support and to service your team, right? In that
Mhm.
aspect. So I think it was a number of magnitudes there. But in the same vein, yeah, that was, I would never remember, like, of founding things in your career that happened in my leadership position there. I would definitely never forget that conversation.
Well, at least you had some kind of support because the article, just circling back to the article about the inclusion delusion, where they talk about how they hire us, how they promote us, but yet, and they flaunt us and they put us on the 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 commercials, they put us on
Marketing
the
material.
marketing materials and everything. But yet we don't have the support that we need in order to do what we need to do. And we're supposed to just fit into a culture that's already there versus evolve the culture that is within an organization. And they're not letting us shine. They're not letting us go, like, help affect change. This is about to go on a tangent right now because this is like, no, because every time you talk to somebody, every time you go to an organization, or even if you look at, not, I'm pointing at you, sorry, bro. Even if you look at job positions and job openings, you're like, you need to be able to effectively have change management skills and affect change and XYZ skills, change. But the organization itself cannot change. Like, you are not fundamentally changing the core fundamentals of the organization to allow change to actually happen. You want to keep everything the same, but then you want to have the surface change. But it's not really surface change. It's just like putting the band-aid on a situation. And just as we saw with Justice Brown, we want to affect change on the Supreme Court by actually having diverse opinions and
Versus
somebody who
paper.
has the bench strength, who actually has who has been in the court system and knows what's going on. But yet, fundamentally, our senators, our government, the people who we are electing,
We electing.
are not changing, and they are attacking the face of change. They are attacking it. They are attacking her because they could not wrap their heads around the fact that she was not white and she was not the same. I can't even say not white. She was not going to assimilate to what they wanted on the Supreme Court.
In court. Right.
I
And so that's the thing. I felt she was attacked and bullied.
mhm,
And I was like, I can't and then when Cory Booker wrote his rebuttal to her, to, celebrate her, to elevate her, to praise her for what she's done, her tears, I understand why she cried. You have this, I mean, being, nominated as a potential Supreme Court justice is already a big thing, right? And so you're already
mhm,
scared, but then you go in and you're like surrounded by a lot of white faces, and you're just like, they're attacking me, and I'm giving explanation, but they're coming back to re-attack me over and over again, and they don't even see their behavior as animalistic, or even in the sense of why we feel the way we do, in the sense of like, oh, so you feel like the slave master and we can't have an opinion, we can't do
right.
anything, right? And so although you equate that to that, you're like, do you look at yourself in the mirror? And then that's the thing, the heterosyncrasies, the small little microabrasions happen. Like, I was on a board and interviewing for a couple positions. And a senior leader of the organization told the person who was potentially going to be their boss, "Oh, I know you're a smart cookie." Who says that? I was like, how demeaning is that?
Mhm.
We know you're a smart cookie. You call the person who potentially may be your leader and your boss
A
a smart
cookie,
cookie.
a smart cookie.
Would you do that to a male? Oh, you're a smart pumpkin.
Mm.
You wouldn't, right? And I was just looking like, and it was a white male to a black female. I was like, oh
You know what? I would
my
have had a
goodness.
retort. I would have had a retort back to that person like 5 hours after that. But
It was so funny. I was like, we need to have lunch. Like, I haven't still addressed it with him at this point. But I'm gonna make him realize, especially when he has a daughter who's entering a very highly skilled profession. And how she would feel if one of her counterparts said that to her. It's a very male dominated industry that she's going into. So I think sometimes with men, when you relate that to their daughters, then they kind of
mm,
get it.
yeah, no, they totally do.
Hopefully,
All right,
hopefully they'll get it.
girl,
Cool.
we're gonna have to take this offline
I'm
and
paying that one.
put
Yes,
this onto
at the
the app.
after show,
Yep, yep.
after show,
Yeah,
after
the after
sisterhood.
show after the sisterhood because we got more stories on this topic. So again,
Absolutely.
thank you for having this conversation with me about the inclusion delusion, and everybody who has joined us. Thank you. We welcome you. We see you. We hear you. We are you.
Yeah.
Remember, please follow, comment, and share, and subscribe to our channel.
Yeah.
Thank you, and have a great
We'll
day,
see.
guys.
We'll see you next time.